you for tuning into this edition of Cigar Chat. In this episode, we're going to go ahead and talk about Ybor City and Tampa's cigar industry and how it was formed and all the different events that led to the foundation of that thriving area that is known today as Tampa. It's such a rich and beautiful history down there. All the different things that happened. It's beautiful when you go there and you see all the different factories, and you're just reminded of all the different things that happened there. You know, how everything just kind of came together, and that area became a large cigar manufacturing center for its time. Just to give you guys some history, in the late 1800s, the cigar industry transformed the small community of Tampa into a huge financial and industrial center. The success of this industry can be attributed to many men. Mr. Don Vicente Martinez Ybor, the man that Ybor City is named for. He's definitely one of the biggest pioneers, if not the largest. Him and a Cuban named Ignacio Aya, and other entrepreneurs as well, but those were the two men that were really instrumental in creating Ybor City. They basically transformed Ybor City and West Tampa into thriving communities. And those communities were pretty much comprised mainly with Cubans, with Spaniards, with Italians. They were all working together there making cigars. Thanks to that, Tampa quickly became a leading center for Cuban hand-rolled cigars at the time, which were at the time known as clear Havana cigars. That was a term that was used. Clear Havanas were basically cigars made here in the United States with all Cuban tobacco, rolled by hand. And that industry basically in the Tampa Bay area, and specifically in Ybor City and in West Tampa, lasted from about the late 1890s all the way into the 1960s. So it was around a pretty long time. Just around the time that the Cuban Revolution started and Cuban tobacco stopped coming into the United States, that's when that area there stopped making cigars. And then most of the manufacturers, they pretty much went over to the Dominican Republic, to Nicaragua, to other places, obviously. Interesting thing to note is that at the height of the prosperity and boom, I guess you could say, Tampa actually rolled more cigars than Havana, which is pretty amazing. So they were rolling millions of cigars there at one time. Out of all the factories that were there, okay, there was hundreds of them. Everything from small shops, chinchales, which was what they were called, or buckeyes is another term, to the large 3-story brick buildings that you're going to see in my video. Only 24 of those factories remain today. And let me tell you, when you're standing there in front of those brick buildings and you're seeing the amazing structures, the craftsmanship that went into these buildings, I mean, they're just architectural marvels. They're still standing today, and it's just a testament of what a beautiful industry, you know, we had here in Tampa. So that's pretty cool. And you know, they also serve as a reminder of Tampa's roots, and you know how the whole thing got started, basically, and they helped make what Tampa is today. Most of those buildings too are on the National Register of Historic Places, so they're basically being protected now, which is a great thing. Just to give you guys a little bit of history on Mr. Ybor, he came to Cuba by way of Spain at a very young age, and by 1856 he was already making cigars in Cuba. And then in 1868 there was an exodus of Cubans due to labor unrest in the island, and as a result, many people, many Cubans obviously, settled in Florida. First they started in Key West, which is where the cigar industry was at the time. And then from Key West, they kind of migrated up here to Tampa. And that has a story all in itself, too. Basically, just to give you guys a little background story on how that happened. In 1884, Mr. Ybor was in Key West making cigars. And he had a visit by two friends of his. A Cuban who had a guava jelly business in New York City. His name was Bernardino Gargol, and Gavino Gutierrez, who was a civil engineer, a Spaniard. And those two men had just visited the Tampa area because they were looking for guava trees. They were looking for wild guava trees, which when they came up here, they realized that there was no guava trees. And in Cuban Spanish, there's a term that says they stuck you with a guava, which means that they lied to you. So somebody stuck the guava to them because there was no guava trees here. Obviously, that proved to be false. However, what they did find here in the area was an area which was pretty accessible to, possibly bringing in Cuban tobacco up the Gulf, and a lot of growth. They saw that the area could grow tremendously. It was mainly swamps at the time. There was a lot of land, a lot of vacant land, and they saw a lot of potential in this area. They ran it by Mr. Ybor, who was also thinking about relocating from Key West, because there were some issues there. He was a little bit isolated down there. And also at this meeting that they had was another gentleman named Ignacio Aya, who was a Cuban. He was a Cuban cigar maker from New York City. And he also sounded very interested at the idea of relocating from New York. And when all these four men got together, they talked about the area, the land, the opportunities that were here. And as a result, they actually ended up coming up here, taking a trip, checking the place out. And as a result, Mr. Ybor bought 40 acres. And that's where he developed into what is now Ybor City, which is an amazing little district, I guess, or neighborhood of Tampa. It was its own city at one point, and then the city of Tampa incorporated it into their own. But Mr. Ybor bought 40 acres and soon soon started constructing his factory. And wouldn't you know that within a few years, they were cranking out millions of cigars in Ybor City, thanks to the efforts and the vision that these men had, specifically Mr. Ybor himself. And something else that is of tremendous historical significance, especially for me and for fellow Cubans, is that Tampa is the cradle of Cuban independence. Tampa was visited by Cuba's patriot leader, José Marti, on many occasions. And Mr. Ybor himself welcomed him here to Tampa. And there's even a famous photograph, which I'll show you guys, of José Marti and the cigar makers in front of Ybor's factory. And that was basically him rallying support for the troops. And it's said that back then the cigar makers in Tampa contributed $1 per week. In 1800s money, that's a lot of money, to the cause of Cuban independence. So, Tampa is totally the cradle of Cuban independence. So much history here. It's just amazing how all this happened really here. I think Marti came to Tampa, I think it was over 20 times during his lifetime. I hope you guys enjoy this video. I hope you enjoy all the different videos that we had, when it comes to Tampa. It's just really difficult to try to make a video and kind of squeeze so much information in a 15 or 20 minute video, but I'm going to try my best here. And of course, I'm very passionate about all this. It's something that's dear to my heart. The love that I have of the cigar business, of Tampa, of Ybor City, of Cuba. It was instilled in me by my father, who was someone who just was very passionate about all this. And I want to dedicate this video to him. It's going to be a year that he passed away, the next couple days. So I know he's watching and he's enjoying the video wherever he is. So anyway, stay tuned, guys, and thanks for watching. Don Vicente Martinez Ybor, founder and pioneer of the cigar industry here in Ybor City. The man responsible for all this growth. There's his famous story here. Pioneer of the cigar industry in Florida and founder of Ybor City. Born in Valencia, Spain in 1818, died in Ybor City December 14th, 1896, and was buried here at Oak Lawn Cemetery in downtown Tampa. Came by way of Cuba. The man was truly a pioneer. Here at these very steps is where José Marti, Cuba's patriot leader, came to visit Tampa and was greeted here by Don Vicente Martinez Ybor in front of his cigar factory. And he spoke to the cigar makers here and rallied support for the Cuban independence movement of the 1800s. So, I mean, Cuban history starts here in Tampa, which is pretty incredible. And the building, of course, still stands today, the cigar factory. It's a huge building right here in the heart of Ybor City. Ybor City's famous trolley, still in operation today after all these years. There it is. Here is Avenida República de Cuba, which means Republic of Cuba Avenue, right across from the historic Cuban Club. Here's the beautiful Cuban Club. It's being renovated. It's the biggest of all the social clubs here in Tampa. And right here on this corner, okay, as you guys can see, 1893, there was an attempt here on the life of José Marti, which was Cuba's patriot leader. They tried to poison him here in his efforts during the Cuban Revolution of the 1800s. Here I am at the historic Cuban Club here in Ybor City. One of the biggest buildings, the biggest social club actually during back in the day. Always proud of my Cuban heritage here, especially when I come to Ybor City. Here we are in front of the Cuban Club, the biggest of all the social clubs here in Tampa. A lot of history here, a lot of famous people, and José Marti himself was outside of this building many years ago. Here's the side of the building. It's huge. Has a cantina, big ballroom upstairs, basement. Right here in the heart of Ybor City. Here's José Marti, Cuba's patriot leader. He was an attorney, a poet, a writer, a freedom fighter. Came here to Ybor City and to Tampa many times, over 20 times, right before his death, basically to rally support for the cause of independence in Cuba and to gain monetary support from the cigar workers of that time, which were mostly all Cubans and Spaniards and Italians as well. And thanks to his efforts, Cuba became free from the Spanish. Here we are on 7th Avenue.
What is
Ybor City. Beautiful 7th Avenue. Here's the Centro Asturiano, one of the social clubs here in Tampa, in Ybor City. The site of many events, parties, gatherings. It was one of the biggest social clubs in the area. And it's interesting, back in the day, a lot of the different groups, they all had their different, or their own social club, and they would come and, you know, basically spend their time here with their families. And these clubs also provided mutual aid, things such as insurance for their families. And this is the Asturian Club, Centro Asturiano. That beautiful building there is the site of the Italian Club, La Unione Italiana, another one of the big social clubs here in Ybor City. The Italians were also a big community here in Ybor City during the day. Many of them were famous cigar makers here in the area. These little cottages were the cigar makers' homes, known as casitas. They're basically a shotgun style house, kind of like the ones in Key West. And part of the deal was you'd come to Ybor City and work in the cigar factory for Mr. Ybor. And every week you would be deducted a certain amount of money. I think it was $1 or $2 for the house. That way you had a little house, and that was part of the deal. Kind of like a company town concept. Like what Mr. Hershey did up in Pennsylvania. The famous casitas. That beautiful restaurant there is the Columbia Restaurant. It's the largest Spanish restaurant in the United States. Founded in 1905 by the Gansmart family. Still in operation today, and it's a very successful restaurant. He owns several of them throughout the state of Florida. Some of the beautiful architecture of the Columbia Restaurant. All the Spanish tiles, all from Spain. They're doing the building. Intricate design. The doors, columns. I mean, literally, it feels like you're actually in Spain. Just it's been here since 1905, over 100 years. There's a little gift store. They have a Spanish vase. It's actually a whole city block long, which is incredible. A lot of celebrities have come here throughout the years. Dignitaries. Anybody who visits Tampa, make sure to come here to the restaurant. Here's another historic fact. The Rough Riders, Teddy Roosevelt, were here back in 1898 during the Spanish-American War. Beautiful. The beautiful Charles the Great, aka Arturo Fuente. This is their historic building here in Ybor City. Our good friends, the Fuente family. Some of the best people in the industry. The iconic Fuente building, the Charles the Great cigar factory here in Ybor City. Just recently restored by the Fuente family. Gorgeous building here in Ybor. The Bustillo Brothers building here on Albany Avenue. Gorgeous piece of history as well. Another one of the brick buildings here, the brick cigar factories. 3 stories tall. Gorgeous building. These are some of the West Tampa style cottages, cigar makers' homes. Beautiful example of them today, 100+ years later. Here's the Pendas factory, Pendas y Alvarez. It's one of only 2 here in the area that has a clock tower. The other one is the Regensburg factory, which is the J.C. Newman headquarters. These buildings are just such beautiful testaments of time and the craftsmanship, the labor in them. Oh my God, it's just beautiful. These things were definitely built to last, guys. I come down here, I feel like I'm revisiting a piece of my history here. I totally am, you know? For me, it's a double, really. Being of Cuban descent and cigar maker family, and Tampa is the holy grail to me, you know, when it comes to cigar making and in our history here. I'm very passionate about this. There's the clock tower right up there. The buildings that stand here today stand as a testament to my heritage, my culture, the history here in Tampa, the cigar making. I'm just very passionate about this. You know, it's something that I hold dear in our heart and in my heart, actually. And I'm happy that these buildings still stand here today. I would have given anything to have seen these buildings back in the day when they were in fully functioning, you know, situation, you know, making millions of cigars. At one point, they even made more cigars here than Havana, which is incredible. This is the Balbine Brothers cigar factory. It's currently going to be renovated. I think they're turning this one into a hotel. I was reading online. The old Samuel Davis Cigar Factory here on Howard Ave. It's been abandoned for years. What a beautiful building. The tower and everything. Just a gorgeous building. These buildings are a testament to the craftsmanship that went into them. I mean, look at these columns all brick. I mean, these things are here to stay. They're not going anywhere, that's for sure. This is the historic Santa Ella Cigar Factory, or in Spanish, Santa Ella. It's a beautiful building here, right in the heart of West Tampa. 1906 North Armenia Ave. Another one of the classic brick buildings here in West Tampa. A lot of cigars were made here back in the day. Here we are in front of the old Santa Ella Cigar Factory in West Tampa, right on North Armenia Ave. That beautiful building there is the Centro Español de West Tampa. They had one here and they had one over in Ybor City. And it was one of the biggest social clubs back in the day. The Spanish building. Spanish Centro. Or Center of... Spanish Center, I guess. Centro Español of West Tampa. There's a classic brick street here in Tampa. There's some of the cottages here. A lot of the cigar makers live in these little cottages in Tampa. Kind of like the Key West style home. They call them cottages or shotgun style homes. Beautiful Tampa street. And there you have it, folks. That's the rich and beautiful history behind Tampa, Florida and Ybor City. Remember, if you liked the video, hit like and subscribe. I hope to see you guys down here at some point enjoying the beautiful weather and visiting these great places. Thanks for watching, and until next time.